Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. So I was perversing through Twitter or perusing I should say, through Twitter, and I came across some additional information regarding Mr. Todd Garner and the removal of Johnny Cage that I thought I would just briefly cover. Don't worry, you won't have to sit through a 40-minute video that was originally a 55-minute video. I hope to not have to take that long to cover this. But anyhow, just to make sure that we're on the up and up, I will again reiterate, rather I should say repeat, what Mr. Todd Garner said to me directly earlier today. In your video, mentioned that I said Johnny Cage is too big a character for the story we told. He deserves his own story. We couldn't fit everyone in. We have big plans for him and wanted to be able to do it right. No matter what we did with him, it would look like a Johnny Cage movie. Thank you. So I've again repeated his statement, right? So here's the thing. This information I came across actually somewhat relates to Mr. Garner's statement here. I still hold the opinions that I expressed in my very long video earlier today, but I thought I would repeat this given that this actually does give some context, a minor bit of context to what he said. Though I must say that Mr. Garner, as of yet, has not tweeted me back about links to other articles. I've seen other articles online from the Friendly Games Media, IGN, GameSpot, or whatnot, and those articles have not said a word about Johnny being removed from the film because of him being a white hero, right? It being unsavory for the hero of the film to be a white man. And this is a statement he again makes, and I'll cover that later in the video. But none of the articles I've seen yet online, with the exception of the Inverse article that I did the video on, mention Johnny's race, or rather mention that Johnny's race is the reason why he was removed from the film, right? So let's be clear. I think that it's games media trying to keep the lid on this because it doesn't look good, and naturally it's got fans like myself very fired up and upset, right? So I think games media is basically trying to cover Mr. Garner's, and by the extension the Mortal Kombat 21 movies behind, because it's not a good look to state that one of your iconic characters was removed because he's white, and that's problematic, especially when you have minimized the Asian male lead in the film of Liu Kang and literally put him as a background character, not even a supporting character, but a background character who's not even on the poster just because you want to hype up the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. But I have made my feelings known about all that. I don't want to linger on, so let's continue. So I came across this post in a thread in a post from Fourth Snake, the Fourth Snake, who does a lot of MK related content, and he's not too happy about this reveal about why Johnny was removed either. But as I was going through the responses and everything, I came across this. So I want to be clear. Mr. Garner did not send this to me, and I was not able to find an article that can back up or support anything that I'm about to cover. So the only thing I have is this tweet, right? This is all I've got. Whatever was in this tweet by Dr. Purpleman. So I don't have any other, say, backup or supporting evidence. I can't tell you which article, if any, this came from. And I looked through several of the responses, and no one linked an article stating where these particular comments came from that Doc is sharing online. So just so people know that. Right, so just have a healthy bit of skepticism, but here's what it says. I've broken up these images, right, so I can sort of explain as I go through. But the full images, which are just two pictures, are linked in the description if you want to see them in whole. I've broken them up to help the video flow better and for me to actually keep track of where I'm at for once in life when I make a video. So, here's what it says. It says Mortal Kombat. If you just think about like the patina, I have no idea what that word means, and I apologize for the blurriness. The patina of the movie, it has a very Asian feel to it. Well, here's the thing, Mr. Garner. The original Mortal Kombat games are indeed very Asian inspired. The series as a whole is very Asian inspired. Now, it's very Asian inspired from, say, a very goofy American lens, but it is still very Asian inspired. This is a screenshot from the original game, and you can see with the dragons, with the monks in the courtyard. This is the courtyard stage from the original film. Not film, sorry. From the original game. As you can see, Sub-Zero and Liu Kang are fighting, right? So you have two Asian men fighting each other. Shang Tsung is watching overhead. You have the, I guess you could say the roof, right? Which looks like a pagoda type thing. You see the flag on the side. So yes, it's always been very Asian inspired because, especially for the first game. The first game, when it comes to like music and visuals and just feel, is entirely different than every other game that came after that one. To me, MK1 started the series, but Mortal Kombat doesn't become Mortal Kombat really until MK2. Because the first game, which is where this is from, is completely just feel, look, appearance, music. It's very 70s. It's just completely different than everything else that came after it, right? But it's always been very Asian inspired because some of the movie inspirations, right, for the game were films like Big Trouble in Little China and films like Enter the Dragon. In fact, this stage, the courtyard, is based off of the courtyard in Enter the Dragon. How do I know? Well, I played the game and grew up with it, but also I checked the Mortal Kombat wiki, and this comes from the wiki, which is linked in the description. It says, trivia, this arena is based on a courtyard from Enter the Dragon, 1973. The first game definitely has that funky 1970s kung fu film type feel. That's what they were inspired by. So yeah, the games have always been had an Asian feel. The island you're fighting on in the original games is Shang Tsung's island, right? And in Mortal Kombat 2, you literally have a character named Kitana, which is of course very close to the word katana, which is the Japanese sword. And as many people who are big fans and enthusiasts of the game will tell you, the Edenian characters do have a lot of, I guess you could say, Asian or Asian inspired elements to their look, in their aesthetics, and their character archetypes and whatnot. For example, Kitana, Melina, Jade, all being female ninjas and that type of stuff. So yeah, it's always been incredibly Asian inspired. That's still not a reason to leave out a premier character from the very first game. But continuing, it says, and I early on felt uncomfortable having a white male lead kind of lead that charge in the first movie. It just felt Hollywoodish to me, which is weird because he's an actor, which also, he being, of course, Johnny Cage. He's an actor, which also was weird. And then it's probably my bias of how it just feels weird if I'm trying to do, and I was, something different and diverse. Sir, Mortal Kombat was always different and diverse. We didn't need your treatment on it. We didn't need your take if that take meant taking away Johnny Cage. But anyway, it says here, something different and diverse and true. Is it a cop-out to all of a sudden have Ryan Reynolds? Sir, sir, Johnny Cage is not based on Ryan Reynolds. Johnny Cage is based on Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was a big-name martial arts action star in the early 1990s. In fact, I found an article online which in part said this. Article naturally is linked in the description, but it says here, speaking to Game Informer, Ed Boon, one of the original co-creators of Mortal Kombat, right? The other one is John Tobias. John is the guy who came up with the characters like Lou and Sonya and Johnny and whatnot. Right, but it says Ed Boon said, we said, let's make the bad boy version of this game, meaning Street Fighter. He was talking about how the first games were inspired by the Street Fighter games. Let's make the bad boy version of this game. Let's do something with blood, kind of like the MTV version of Street Fighter. At one point, Midway's solution was to create a game about Jean-Claude Van Damme himself. We wanted to call it Van Damme. We just wanted to see huge letters, Van Damme, as you walked by. You couldn't pass that up, Boone said. Unfortunately, a deal couldn't be cut for Van Damme, but Boone and his team still paid tribute to the character in the form of parodic character Johnny Cage in what became Mortal Kombat, from the splits to the diva-esque attitude. It was evident that Midway had a sense of humor here. After Mortal Kombat rocked the world and upset parents with its gore and violence, it was only a matter of time before a film adaptation was considered. That happened in 1995 when Paul W.S. Anderson directed the feature film. As we see here, here is a picture of Mr. Van Damme in his trademark splits. And here is Johnny performing the splits and performing his ever infamous nut punch on Goro. And again, this is taken from the very first game from 1992, so it proves the article correct. Johnny was based on not Ryan Reynolds. He's never been based on Ryan Reynolds. He's based on Jean-Claude Van Damme. He was based on a major martial arts action star of the day. This series will always have its roots in the 1990s, and there's no amount of modernization, or in this case, white erasure, that you can do that will ever take that from the series. But moving on. So the quote or the internet image I found says, "Not him, but you know, as the lead felt a little," meaning Johnny Cage as the lead character, which he's never been a lead character. He's never been the hero of the story. He's a hero, but not the hero. That was Liu Kang. Right, but going back, not him, but you know, as the lead felt a little disingenuous to me. It's super easy to bring him in a big, bombastic, fun way in the second. Right? And he deserves that as a character. I love these characters, so we thought hard about it. Anyway, it says, and he deserves that as a character. I love these characters, so we thought hard about it. I doubt your love for the character, sir, to be quite honest with you, but let me continue. There was supposed to be an image separating these two, because I wanted to make a point about the original video game having Johnny, but for whatever reason the image is not showing up. It should be here, and yet it's not. My computer's just really screwing me over today. But anyway, let me move on with this. Alright, so continuing. Johnny Cage is obviously the elephant in the room, and there's a number of reasons why Johnny Cage was problematic. Of course Johnny's problematic in this particular movie out of the gate. One, he's a very big personality, right? He needs his own space. It's very hard to just, to just throw him in a movie, like I said, with Kano. Well, here's the thing, sir. Here's the thing. And since I have this image here, I'll try to make both points. First of all, if the original game from 1992, with all of the technical limitations at the time in both the arcades and in the home console market, could still find a way to include 7 characters, 7 playable characters, a hidden boss fight in Reptile, right? And include your villain characters, right? Your boss characters of Goro and Shang Tsung, and include the fatalities, and include the music, and the graphics, and the controls, and the cheats, and the test your might mini games, and everything else that made up the first title. If they could find space for all that, then quite frankly, sir, I believe that in the 30 years that have passed since, and with the millions of dollars you were no doubt provided with to make this movie, you can put Johnny Cage in this movie. You include every other character, every other original character from the first game. Each and every one of them has been mentioned or featured in the trailers except for Johnny. You have absolutely, in my opinion, you have absolutely no excuse to leave out Johnny when you even went so far as to put characters such as Jax and Melina in this film when Jax and Melina debuted in Mortal Kombat 2. So if you can put two characters from MK2 in this film, then you can put Johnny, and you should have put Johnny in this film. If the game from 1992 could do it, you can certainly do it. Literally 30 years in the future, making what? The third film now? Because you had the 95 film, you had the 97 film in Armageddon, which was trash. And now you have this one over 20 years later after the 97 film. Sir, Mr. Garner, with all due respect, you, in my opinion, have absolutely no excuse. And I don't accept your excuses and your explanations about why Johnny's not in this. Right? But number two, you talk about Kano, right? Who's the selected character in this image here, Kano versus Sub-Zero. Here's the thing, especially in the older games and earlier in the series lore, Johnny and Kano have got nothing to do with each other. They are passing ships in the night. They are like night and day. See, Kano's rival, right? His rival in the first game and throughout the entire franchise's history has been and always will be Sonya, who looked dangerously similar to Cynthia Rothrock in the original game. Actually, almost got midway into trouble because she considered suing them for unauthorized use of her likeness, but she let it slide. But Kano has always been Sonya's rival. They've always had this sick rivalry with each other. In fact, here is Sonya's bio. I know it's incredibly blurry and I apologize, but here is Sonya's bio from the very first game. It says, Sonya is a member of a top US Special Forces unit. Her team was hot on the trail of Kano's Black Dragon organization. They followed them to an uncharted island, of course, Shang Tsung's island, where they were ambushed by Shang Tsung's personal army. So it's always been Sonya and Kano when it comes to rivalries. Johnny didn't get involved until the reboot, when the reboot actually married them and they had a kid and all that. Then he gets involved. But even in that, he's more hands off because, again, that's Sonya's deal. It's not his. Johnny proper didn't even get a rival in the games, probably until MK3 and Trilogy, where Motaro killed him in the extermination that was going on during MK3. And if you want to talk about the movies, that's Goro. He fought Scorpion in the film, but his real rival in the film was it was Goro, right? So it never had Johnny and Kano have never had anything to do with each other. So again, I don't accept your explanation, sir. Continuing. Right, so it says, so taking him meaning Johnny, so taking him out was very easy, not only for the movie. And here's the problem, sir. If you can remove Johnny just like that, if you can take him out and say it's easy, that says to me that you have no respect for the character or for the franchise you have been blessed to work on. So this actually bothers me quite a bit. Right? He says not only easy for the movie, but for the sequel. I want to make a sequel. Okay. So that part's true. He does have a sequel in mind. So Sindel Cat, you were correct. He wants to make a sequel. I don't want him to make a sequel, but apparently he wants to make a sequel, right? He's like, and now I've got Johnny Cage, which hasn't been used in the first one. Yeah, that's the problem. People don't want Johnny to be left out, and you left him out. So what makes you think that you can just introduce him in the second film if you get it? If you get it. There's no guarantee as of yet that a second film will be done. And even if it is done, in case you haven't noticed, MK films have this bad habit of being in development hell. So what in the world makes you think that a sequel's even in the books, even in the best of circumstances, what makes you think a sequel would be able to take place anytime soon, especially in the age of COVID? Right? It says here, so I have a big stick and carrot that maybe they'll have a Johnny Cage real presence in the second one. Yeah, no, I don't want your first one, and I don't want your second one. I sincerely hope this fails, and that your second one doesn't happen, because you've demonstrated twice now that you have no respect for the original franchise or for the original characters, and you'll leave Johnny out because, by your own words, because it's unsavory to have a white hero in a video game with a diverse cast. You also minimize the male Asian lead from said video game movie with diverse cast. Take me back to 1995. That's where I belong. Robin Shue, come take me home. Lyndon Ashby, come take me home. But anyway, I'm going to watch some clips of the old film. I'm going to watch me the Johnny Scorpion fight, which was done masterfully by Lyndon Ashby, who played Johnny, and Chris Casamassa, who played Scorpion in that movie. And then, of course, there's the famous fight between Goro and Johnny, right? And some memorable lines. Those are $500 sunglasses, asshole. And the one that probably applies most to this video. This is where you fall down. I sincerely hope that this movie falls down. And I don't often say that, but I really do now. Having covered this now twice, I sincerely want this movie to fail. It may and may not, but I'll certainly be happy if it does. Because I don't think, if you're going to be this disrespectful, well then your work, in my opinion, does not deserve to be profitable and succeed. Now here's the thing, dear viewer. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I will tell you what I want, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. What I will ask of you is this. Look at this image. To my best fan, Johnny Cage. Of course, this is from his friendship, I think, in Mortal Kombat 2. If you've ever been a fan of this franchise in the past 30 years, whether you're a fan of the classics, a fan of the reboot, a fan of both, whether you were a fan of the original film or the new film or the old cartoons like Defenders of the Realm or the live show they used to do, if you've ever, for 1 minute, for 1 second of your life, been a fan of this franchise at all, then before you spend money on this, I ask you to really think about it. To think about if this work that is leaving out an iconic character from the original game because of his race, because he's a heroic white guy, if this is really worth not just money, but a fan's money. Is this really worth your money, time, and attention as a fan of the franchise at any point? So that's all I'm going to ask you when you think about this film. Is to ask yourself, is it really worth it as a fan to support this? Now, whether or not it is or it isn't, that's up to you, dear viewer. And I'll respect your decision either way. But for me, it is not worth it. As I said previously, I had no interest in this film, but that was coming from a very neutral place. I just wasn't interested. Now I'm disinterested and I am sincerely insulted and angry. So now I really don't want to see this film. Right, but anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Bye.